The first sound was not a scream. It was a slow, fading breath beneath the sand, one last proof that she was still alive. Under a blood-red sky, the desert lay silent again, as if nothing terrible had happened. The wind erased footprints. The ritual circle vanished. To the world above, the sacrifice was complete. But the girl beneath the ground was not dead. Her name was Caliph. She lay curled in darkness, her body trapped inside a narrow stone shell beneath the sand. The air was thin and tasted of metal. Every breath burned. The glowing veins beneath her pale blue skin flickered weakly, like dying stars. The elders had said the offering must be alive when the desert claimed her. That was the law of her people. That was the price they paid to survive. Caliph had not cried when they sealed the stone lid. She had not begged. She had only stared at the sky as it disappeared, wondering why the universe demanded fear instead of courage. Above her, far away from ancient rituals and alien traditions, a human walked alone. Ethan Cross hated deserts. They reminded him of silence, of places where mistakes could not be forgiven. His boots sank into the sand as he moved toward the crashed relay tower, a broken skeleton of metal half buried by time. He was not a soldier anymore. Not officially. Just a scavenger now. A fixer. A man who survived by going where no one else wanted to go. His oxygen gauge blinked amber. Still enough, he muttered. Ethan had learned something important about the universe. If you listened long enough, broken places always told the truth. Machines whispered through static. Ruins hummed with regret. And sometimes, the ground itself spoke. That was when he heard it. A sound too soft to be wind. Too uneven to be shifting sand. He stopped. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction. Twin suns burned overhead. No movement. No life. Then again. A faint vibration. A pulse. Ethan knelt and pressed his glove against the sand. His scanner chimed weakly, struggling against interference. The display flickered, then stabilized. Biological signal detected. Low vitals. Buried. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Damn it," he whispered. He began to dig. The sand fought him, collapsing into the hole faster than he could clear it. His hands burned. His breathing grew heavier. Minutes passed. The suns crawled across the sky. His oxygen gauge dipped lower. Then his fingers struck stone. Smooth. Carved. Not natural. Ethan pried at the lid with a crowbar from his pack. The stone resisted, ancient and stubborn, but human stubbornness was older. With a sharp crack, the seal broke. Air rushed downward. A thin, broken gasp answered. Ethan froze for half a second, then tore the lid away. Inside the narrow chamber lay a girl unlike any species he knew. Her skin shimmered faintly blue-green. Fine silver hair clung to her face. Strange glowing patterns ran beneath her skin, pulsing weakly in rhythm with her heart. She was alive. Barely. Ethan lifted her out without thinking. She weighed almost nothing. Her body was cold. Too cold. Sand spilled from her clothes as he cradled her against his chest. "Hey," he said softly. "Stay with me. You hear me? Stay." Her eyes fluttered open, wide, luminous, filled with pure terror. She tried to scream. No sound came. Ethan didn't waste time. He sealed her inside his emergency cloak, shielding her from the sun, and sprinted toward his ship hidden between rock spires a kilometer away. Every step drained his strength. Every breath tasted thinner than the last. Behind them, the desert watched. The ship's hatch slammed shut just as Ethan's oxygen alarm screamed red. He ripped off his helmet and dragged the girl inside, sealing the chamber before collapsing to his knees. The air recycler kicked on. Slow. Weak. Enough. He laid her on the medical bench and injected a basic stabilizer. The glowing lines beneath her skin flickered brighter, then steadied. Her breathing eased, though her body still trembled. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then her eyes opened again. She sat up suddenly, panic flooding her expression. Her hands glowed faintly as instinct took over, defensive energy crackling in the air. Ethan raised both hands. "Easy," he said. "I'm not hurting you." She stared at him like he was a nightmare that refused to fade. Their languages did not match. Their worlds had never touched. Yet fear sounded the same everywhere. Slowly, her hands lowered. She spoke a single word, her voice hoarse and broken. "Alive?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, you're alive." Her shoulders shook. Not from fear now, but from something heavier. Relief mixed with disbelief. Tears traced glowing paths down her cheeks. Outside the ship, the wind rose. Ethan moved to the console, checking scanners. What he saw made his blood run cold. Multiple energy signatures. Approaching fast. He looked back at the alien girl, still wrapped in his cloak, staring at her hands as if she didn't trust them anymore. Someone had buried her alive. And whoever they were coming back. Ethan clenched his jaw. He had saved her life. Now he would have to fight for it. The desert had already taken enough. And humanity was not known for giving things back quietly. The ship trembled as something heavy landed nearby. Ethan felt it through the floor before the sensors confirmed it. He turned back to the console, fingers moving fast despite the ache in his arms. 3 new signatures blinked onto the screen, sharp and hostile. Advanced weapons. Not scavengers. Not lost travelers. Hunters. He cursed under his breath. Outside, shadows crossed the sand. Tall figures moved with purpose, their shapes distorted by heat and dust. They wore dark armor marked with glowing symbols that pulsed in slow rhythm, like a heartbeat that did not belong to any living thing. The girl noticed the change in him. She stood slowly, clutching the cloak tighter around her body. Her glowing veins brightened again, reacting to her fear. She looked toward the hull, listening, as if she could hear through metal and stone. Then she spoke again, her voice trembling but clearer than before. "Returned." Ethan didn't understand the word, but he understood the meaning. "They're looking for you," he said quietly. "Aren't they?" Her eyes met his. Silver and deep, full of memory and pain. She nodded once. She touched her chest, then gestured downward, pressing her palm toward the floor as if sealing something shut. Her hands shook as she mimed sand pouring down. Buried. Sacrifice. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Not happening again," he muttered. A sharp metallic sound echoed outside. Something struck the ship's hull. A warning. A test. Ethan grabbed his rifle from the wall. It was old, patched together from 3 different models, but it still worked. He checked the power cell. Half charge. Good enough. He motioned for the girl to stay back. She hesitated, then nodded, retreating behind a storage crate. Her glowing patterns dimmed as she tried to make herself invisible. The hull shook again. A voice boomed through the external speakers, distorted but clear enough to understand. "Human vessel. You are in violation of Dominion claim law. Return the offering. Leave. Live." Ethan felt a cold anger settle in his chest. He stepped to the intercom. "No," he said simply. Silence followed. Then laughter. Low. Mocking. "Human ignorance is predictable," the voice replied. "You interfere with forces older than your species." Ethan leaned closer to the MIC. "Funny thing about humans," he said. "We interfere with everything." The attack came without warning. Energy bolts tore into the sand, exploding against the rocks near the ship. The hull screamed as shields flickered weakly. Ethan fired back through the side hatch, forcing one of the attackers into cover. The girl cried out as the ship rocked violently. A blast struck the engine housing. Alarms screamed. Ethan knew the truth in that moment. They could not win a fight here. He ran to the cockpit and slammed the ignition. Nothing. The engine coughed, then died. "Come on," he growled, hitting the panel again. Outside, the hunters advanced, calm and relentless. One of them raised a weapon that hummed with dangerous energy. A final shot. The girl suddenly shouted something sharp and urgent in her language. She ran forward, grabbing Ethan's arm, her eyes blazing. She pointed to the floor, to the engine core, then to herself. Ethan stared at her. "You can help?" he asked. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the question. She placed her glowing hand against the cracked panel of the engine housing. Light surged from her veins, flowing into the metal like liquid fire. The ship screamed, then roared. Power surged through the systems. Lights blazed to life. Shields snapped back online just as the enemy fired. The blast splashed harmlessly across the reinforced field. Ethan laughed, breathless and shocked. "Remind me to thank you properly," he said. The ship lifted violently, sand exploding outward as thrusters burned hot. Energy fire chased them into the sky, but the shields held long enough. The desert shrank beneath them. The hunters watched from below, silent and furious. Inside the ship, the girl collapsed. Ethan caught her before she hit the floor. Her glow faded fast, leaving her skin pale and cold again. Whatever she had done had cost her dearly. He carried her to the medical bench and stabilized her as best he could. The readings were strange, beyond his knowledge, but one thing was clear. She had saved him. Hours passed as the ship drifted beyond the planet's atmosphere. Ethan stayed awake, eyes fixed on the sensors, waiting for pursuit that never came. When she finally woke, she was weaker, but calmer. She looked at him differently now. Not as a threat. Not as a stranger. She touched her chest again, then pointed to him. "Ethan," she said slowly, testing the sound. He smiled. "Yeah. That's me." He pointed to her. She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Calith." Ethan nodded. "Nice to finally meet you properly." Silence filled the cockpit, heavy but not hostile. After a moment, Calith raised her hand. A small image formed above her palm, light-shaped into memory. Ethan saw a towering city of stone and crystal. Crowds bowing in fear. A single altar beneath an open sky. And her. Chosen. Condemned. Ethan's hands tightened into fists. "They did this to keep control," he said quietly. "Didn't they?" Calith looked away. "They call it balance," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "No," he said. "They call it power." The ship slipped into the dark between stars. Far behind them, the desert world turned slowly, keeping its secrets. But the Dominion would not forget. And humanity had just made itself part of an ancient war. Not by conquest. Not by greed. But by refusing to let an innocent die. The stars stretched into thin lines as the ship jumped into quiet space. When the motion settled, silence returned, deep and heavy. Ethan sat in the pilot's chair, staring forward, but his thoughts were nowhere near the navigation screen. His hands still trembled, not from fear now, but from the realization of what he had done. He had defied the Dominion. He had taken what they called sacred, and he would do it again. Behind him, Calith sat on the medical bench, wrapped in the thermal cloak. Her breathing was steady, but her glow was faint, barely visible beneath her skin. She watched Ethan carefully, studying him the way one studies fire, something warm, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. Ethan finally broke the silence. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly, not turning around. "You nearly burned yourself out." Calith lowered her gaze. "If I had not," she said slowly, choosing her words with effort, "you would be dead. Then. I would be dead later." Ethan turned in his seat. "That's not how humans think," he replied. She tilted her head slightly. "Then how do humans think?" Ethan paused. He searched for an answer simple enough to cross worlds. "We think some things are worth the risk." Calith considered this. Her people did not think this way. Risk was calculated. Sacrifice was scheduled. Lives were measured against stability. She had been a number. A solution. Not a person. She closed her eyes, memories pressing in. The council chamber. The cold stone floor. The voices of elders speaking calmly as they chose her. Not because she was weak, but because she was strong. Her energy patterns were rare. Valuable. Perfect for the ritual. Your life will save thousands, they had told her. They never asked if she agreed. Her fingers curled tightly into the cloak. Ethan noticed. Hey, he said, softer now. You're safe. For the moment. For the moment, she echoed. She knew the Dominion well. They did not forgive disruption. They corrected it. Slowly. Thoroughly. The ship's sensors chimed again. Ethan glanced at the display. Long-range transmission detected. Encrypted. Dominion signature. He shut it down immediately. They're calling, he said. Tracking too. Kalitha's glow flickered brighter with fear. They will not stop. Ethan nodded. Then neither will we. He brought up a star map, projecting it between them. Dozens of systems glowed faintly. Trade lanes. Neutral zones. Dead space. I know a place, he said. Human station. Independent. They don't bow easily. Kalith studied the map, then looked at him. If I go there, they will come. Yeah, Ethan admitted. Eventually. She swallowed. Then you will suffer for me. Ethan leaned back in his chair, letting out a dry breath. Kalith, he said, the moment I dug you out of that sand, I was already involved. That was when the ship shook violently. Alarms blared. Ethan snapped forward. What now? The lights dimmed as the engines struggled. A massive shadow appeared on the sensors. Too large, too fast. A Dominion cruiser. It tore out of subspace directly in their path, weapons charging, hull glowing with authority and threat. Kalith stood abruptly, panic flashing across her face. They found us. Ethan's fingers flew across the controls, rerouting power, pushing the engines past safe limits. The ship groaned in protest. They won't fire yet, he said. They want you alive. The cruiser hailed them. This time, the image came through. A tall alien figure filled the screen, its face long and angular, eyes like polished stone. Authority radiated from every movement. Human, the Dominion commander said calmly. You carry stolen balance. Return the offering. Ethan leaned closer to the camera. She's not an offering, he replied. She's a person. The commander's eyes narrowed slightly. Your species assigns emotional weight where none is required. Kalith stepped beside Ethan, her hands trembling but her voice steady. I was chosen without consent, she said. Buried alive. Left to die. The commander did not look at her. Your life sustains order, he said. Your suffering is acceptable. Ethan felt something snap inside him. He slammed his fist onto the console. No, he said. It's not. He cut the transmission. The cruiser's weapons charged brighter. Ethan, Kalith whispered, fear rising. You cannot fight them. Ethan smiled grimly. I'm not going to. He yanked a lever, diverting power into the ship's core. Warning lights flashed red. What are you doing? She asked. Human engineering, he said. Improvising. The ship surged forward, not toward escape, but toward the cruiser. Kalith gasped. At the last second, Ethan cut engines and dumped raw energy into space. The sudden burst scrambled sensors, blinding the cruiser just long enough. Ethan spun the ship hard, diving into a nearby debris field, ancient wreckage from forgotten wars. Metal fragments screamed past the hull. Shields flared. The cruiser followed, slower now, cautious. Ethan weaved between the wrecks, heart pounding, sweat dripping down his neck. This won't hold them forever, he muttered. Kalith watched the chaos outside, then made a decision. She stepped forward, placing her glowing hands against the central console again. No, Ethan said sharply. You'll burn out. She looked at him, eyes steady. You risked everything for me, she said. Now I choose. Light surged brighter than before, flooding the ship. Systems stabilized. Engines roared with new strength. Ethan stared at her. You're not a sacrifice anymore, he said. Kalith met his gaze. Then let me be a partner. The ship shot forward, slipping through the debris field and vanishing into deep space just as the cruiser's weapons fired blindly behind them. Silence followed. Ethan exhaled shakily and laughed once, short and amazed. "Welcome to humanity," he said. "We make terrible plans, and somehow survive them." Kalith smiled faintly. For the first time in her life, the future felt uncertain. And that uncertainty felt like freedom. The ship emerged from deep space battered, scarred, and barely holding together, but still flying. Ethan slumped in the pilot's seat, exhaustion pulling at every muscle. His hands ached from gripping the controls too long. His head throbbed from adrenaline that had nowhere left to go. Behind him, Kalith collapsed onto the bench, her glow fading until it was little more than a soft outline beneath her skin. This time, she did not hide the pain. Her breathing was shallow. Her fingers trembled uncontrollably. Ethan was at her side in seconds. "Hey," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Hey, don't shut down on me now." She forced her eyes open. "I am still here." "Barely." Ethan checked the readings. Her energy levels were dangerously low. Whatever power she carried was not meant to be used so violently, so often. Not without consequences. He clenched his jaw. "You saved my ship. Again." Kalith looked away weakly. "You saved my life first." That truth hung between them. Ethan straightened and turned back to the console. The star map flickered to life. Their original destination, the human station, was no longer an option. The Dominion cruiser would predict that route. They always predicted safe choices. Ethan selected a different path. Dead space. Uncharted. Dangerous. Useless by every strategic measure. Exactly where humans like to operate. Hours passed. Kalith drifted in and out of sleep. Each time she woke, Ethan was still there, fixing systems, patching conduits, whispering to the ship like it could hear him. Eventually, she asked the question that had been forming since the desert. "Why did you stop?" she said softly. "You could have left. You did not know me." Ethan didn't answer right away. He tightened a bolt, then another, buying time. "Humans don't like unfair games," he said finally. "And we really hate rules that kill people just to make others feel safe." Kalith absorbed this. Her world had never questioned such rules. They were ancient. Sacred. Final. "You will bring war," she said. Ethan nodded. "Probably. And still you help." He shrugged. "Someone has to start saying no." The ship shuddered lightly as it dropped out of warp. Before them floated a massive structure hidden within an asteroid cluster. Patched metal, rotating habitats, mismatched docking arms. A human outpost. Independent. Lawless. Alive. Ethan let out a slow breath. Home, for now. As they approached, warning lights flared across the station. Defensive guns tracked them. A voice crackled through the comms. "Unknown vessel, cut engines and identify." Ethan opened the channel. "Ethan Cross," he said. "Civilian ship. Carrying a non-hostile alien. Requesting dock and medical aid." Silence followed. Then laughter. "Cross? You owe half this station money." "Yeah," Ethan replied. "But I also brought trouble." The laughter stopped. "Docking Bay 7, the voice said. "And Ethan, if this trouble follows you, you deal with it." The bay doors opened. Inside, Kalith watched humans for the first time. They moved fast. Loud. Chaotic. Some stared openly at her glowing skin. Others didn't care at all. Medics rushed forward, speaking rapidly, confused but focused. No one bowed. No one reached for weapons. They treated her like a patient. That alone shattered something deep inside her. In the medical wing, as machines hummed and lights softened, Kalith finally rested. Ethan stood outside the room, arms folded, watching through reinforced glass. A woman approached him, older, sharp-eyed, wearing station security colors. "You picked a fight with the Dominion," she said flatly. Ethan nodded. "Yeah. You know what that means." Yeah. She studied him for a long moment. Humans don't win wars by being stronger, she said. We win by being stubborn. Ethan smiled faintly. That's the plan. Inside the room, Kalith woke to calm light and clean air. She sat up slowly, no restraints, no guards. Just choice. Ethan entered a moment later. You're safe, he said. She looked at him, eyes clearer now than they had ever been. No, she said gently. I am no longer hidden. Alarms suddenly blared across the station. Red lights flashed. A voice echoed through every corridor. Dominion fleet detected. Multiple vessels entering the system. The station shook as shields powered up. Ethan's smile faded, but his eyes hardened. Kalith stood beside him, fear rising, but also resolve. They will demand me, she said. Ethan turned to her. And we're going to refuse. Outside the station windows, sleek Dominion warships emerged from darkness, weapons glowing with cold certainty. For centuries, the Dominion had enforced balance through fear and sacrifice. Now, they faced something they did not understand. A human station full of stubborn people. And one alien girl who had learned the most dangerous lesson of all. She was not born to be buried. She was born to choose. And humans were very, very good at standing beside those who chose to stand. The first Dominion shot never came. That alone unsettled everyone. From the station's main observation deck, humans watched the enemy fleet hold position just beyond weapons range. Massive. Silent. Patient. Dominion warships were not known for hesitation. When they arrived, they ended conversations. Ethan stood beside Kalith at the reinforced viewport. Around them, station crew hurried into battle stations. Old freighters were being armed. Mining drones were being reprogrammed into shield disruptors. Engineers argued loudly while working twice as fast. It was messy. Unorganized. Human. Kalith studied the scene with disbelief. They are not afraid, she whispered. Ethan shook his head. Oh, they're terrified. He glanced at the chaos. They just don't let it stop them. A priority signal cut through the noise. The Dominion flagship opened a channel, broadcasting to the entire station. The commander appeared again, calm and towering. Human settlement, the voice echoed. You harbor stolen balance. Surrender the offering. This ends peacefully. A low murmur rolled through the station. Ethan stepped forward before anyone could stop him and keyed the reply. She's not an offering, he said. His voice carried, steady and clear. She's a person. And she's staying. The commander's eyes narrowed. Human defiance does not alter reality, it said. Your species thrives briefly, then burns. Order remains. Kalith stepped forward beside Ethan. Her hands shook, but she raised them anyway. I was told my death would save my people, she said, her voice echoing across the channel. But you never tried saving them any other way. The commander did not respond. Instead, another image appeared, alien elders from Kalith's world, standing beneath their crystal spires. They looked ashamed. Kalith, one elder said softly. Return. This is necessary. Her chest tightened. Ethan looked at her, searching her face. This was the moment the Dominion had planned for. Not force. Guilt. Kalith closed her eyes. For a heartbeat, the station seemed to hold its breath. Then she spoke. No. The word was quiet. But it shattered centuries of obedience. I will not die to make you comfortable, she continued. If balance demands innocent blood, then balance is broken. Gasps echoed across the station. Even some Dominion officers stirred uneasily. The commander's voice hardened. You reject your purpose. Kalith lifted her chin. I choose my own. The Dominion ships powered weapons. Human alarms screamed. Ethan slammed his hand onto the console. All units, now. The station came alive. Mining lasers fired, not at ships, but at space itself, slicing asteroids into controlled debris fields. Old cargo haulers surged forward, dumping electromagnetic nets. Drones swarmed like angry insects, jamming sensors and communications. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't clean. But it was unpredictable. The Dominion fired, only to find their targeting useless in the chaos. Human pilots laughed, shouted, adapted in real time. They turned tools into weapons. Weakness into advantage. Kalith felt something awaken inside her. Not power fueled by sacrifice. Power fueled by choice. She placed her hands against the station's core interface. Light surged, not draining her this time, but harmonizing with human systems. Shields strengthened. Energy flows stabilized. For the first time, her gift gave life without taking it. Ethan stared at her in awe. "You're not burning out," he said. She smiled through tears. "Because I am not alone." The Dominion fleet faltered. Confusion spread. Their commander finally spoke again, voice no longer certain. This outcome was not calculated. Ethan grinned fiercely. "Yeah, that's us." One by one, Dominion ships disengaged, retreating into deep space, not defeated, but changed. Silence followed. Then cheers. Loud. Uncontrolled. Human. Kalith sank into a chair, overwhelmed. Ethan knelt beside her. "You did it," he said. She shook her head gently. "We did." Days later, Kalith stood beneath an artificial sky, watching children run through the station's habitat ring. No one bowed to her. No one feared her glow. She was simply alive. Ethan joined her, holding 2 cups of terrible human coffee. "What happens now?" he asked. She thought for a moment. "I will speak," she said. "To my people. To others like them. There are more sacrifices waiting in the dark." Ethan nodded. "Then we'll help." She looked at him. "Why?" He met her gaze. Serious now. "Because humanity isn't special because we're strong," he said. "We're special because when someone says this is how it must be, we ask, why?" Kalith smiled. Far across the stars, the Dominion began rewriting its calculations. Because the most dangerous force in the universe was not power. It was a human who refused to accept a cruel rule. And an alien girl who learned she was never meant to be buried.